Is President Trump a Russian asset?
Donald Trump embarrassed himself and the office of president today with an announcement of a no ceasefire from Russia to Ukraine. Trump claimed Russian President Vladimir Putin had agreed to a partial ceasefire that will halt attacks on Ukraine's energy infrastructure following a high-stakes phone conversation in which Putin kept Trump waiting for hours. However, Putin refrained from endorsing the broader 30-day ceasefire, a proposal Trump had put forward to Ukraine, which had already accepted despite not being the aggressor. This setback dimmed hopes of a swift resolution to the conflict, despite Trump's promise to end the war within 24 hours. The Kremlin stated that Putin insisted on halting all Western military aid to Ukraine before considering a more comprehensive agreement. Following the call, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy expressed openness to suspending attacks on energy infrastructure, but emphasized the need for more details on what had been agreed upon.
If he was an asset, we would see exactly what he's doing now. He proceeded to express from the Oval Office propaganda that has been Russian propaganda, that Ukraine started the war, that Zelenskyy is a dictator.
Trump spun the discussion positively, describing it as very good and productive on his Truth Social platform. He stated that both parties had agreed to an immediate halt on strikes targeting energy and infrastructure, with the broader goal of securing a full ceasefire and ultimately ending the war. But there was no evidence of that. Just hours after the conversation, air raid sirens blared in Kiev, followed by explosions as Ukrainian defenses intercepted Russian drones. Later, Zelenskyy reported that more than 40 Russian drones had been launched at civilian sites, including at a hospital in Sumy. Zelenskyy indicated that further discussions with Washington were necessary before Ukraine could respond formally. It is important to have direct talks with President Trump to understand exactly what was discussed between the US and Russia, he stated. Despite claiming success, Trump acknowledged the ongoing challenges, noting that a ceasefire without additional steps would be difficult, given Russia's current advantage on the battlefield. When questioned about reports that Putin had demanded an end to Western military aid to Ukraine, Trump denied that the topic had even come up during the conversation. The Kremlin, meanwhile, outlined a series of conditions for any extended ceasefire, emphasizing concerns over enforcement and the possibility of Ukraine strengthening its forces with Western support. Putin reiterated his stance that any peace agreement must address Russia's security interests, including Ukraine's exclusion from NATO, the demilitarization of Ukraine, and Moscow's full control over 4 annexed regions, conditions that Ukraine and Europe are unlikely to agree to. The great dealmaker Donald Trump's recent remarks have raised concerns that his administration might prioritize securing a peace deal over protecting Ukraine's sovereignty. Last Sunday, Trump said that the United States had just about ended a suspension of intelligence sharing with Ukraine after the U.S. paused its intelligence sharing, cutting off the flow of vital information that has helped the war-torn nation target Russian invaders. Information about Russia's intentions and military movements had been critical to Ukraine's defense and a strong indication of support from the US and other Western allies. The suspension came after Trump paused military aid to Ukraine and pivoted foreign policy to be more aligned with the Kremlin. Additionally, the Trump regime has publicly signaled that it does not believe Russia represents a cyber threat against U.S. national security or critical infrastructure, marking a radical departure from long-standing intelligence assessments. The shift in policy will make the U.S. vulnerable to hacking attacks by Russia, experts have said, and appears to expose the warmth of relations between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. A recent memo at the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, set out new priorities for the agency, which is part of the Department of Homeland Security, and monitors cyber threats against U.S. critical infrastructure. The new directive set out priorities that included China and protecting local systems, but it did not mention Russia. The New York Times reported that the Trump administration had reassigned officials at CISA who were focused on safeguarding elections from Russian cyber attacks and other attempts to disrupt voting, despite Russia being at least on par with China as the most significant cyber threat, along with North Korea and Iran. Russia and other state actors are driving an increase in politically motivated cyber attacks and sabotage of infrastructure and public institutions in the EU, the bloc's police enforcement agency has found. Europol's 80-page serious and organized crime threat assessment for 2025 also describes in detail how hybrid threat actors have established a shadow alliance with organized criminal gangs in Europe to try to destabilize the functioning of the EU and its member states. It identifies a broad range of criminal activities and tactics being deployed by criminal proxies, including sabotage, arson, cyber attacks, data theft, and migrant smuggling. An investment in Leaf Filter is an investment engineered to protect your whole home. Clogged gutters are easy to forget, annoying to clean, and can grow into a big problem. There's an easier way to ensure your gutters stay clean and avoid costly damage. Upgrade to a permanent solution you can count on with Leaf Filter, so you never have to clean out the gutters again. Right now, you can get a free inspection, free estimate, and save up to 30% of your entire purchase at leaffilter.com/5 minutes. Every installation comes with a lifetime, no clogs guarantee. Leaf Filter uses award-winning patented technology to keep out everything but water. No holes, gaps, or large openings for debris to get through. Clogged gutters aren't just a nuisance, they can cause extensive water damage, so protect your home from flooding, roof damage, rotting siding, foundation issues, and more. Call today to schedule your free gutter inspection and get a no-obligation free estimate. Protect your home and never clean out gutters again with Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system. Schedule your free inspection and take advantage of the spring spectacular sale with up to 30% off your entire purchase at leaffilter.com/5 minutes. That's free estimate, free inspection, and 30% off at leaffilter.com/5 minutes. See representative for warranty details. And if that wasn't enough of a clue that Trump favors Russia over our European allies, the US is now withdrawing from an international body formed to investigate responsibility for the invasion of Ukraine. The Justice Department said it was pulling out of the International Center for the Prosecution of the Crime of Aggression against Ukraine, the ICPA, 2 years after the Biden administration joined it, with a commitment to hold Putin, Russia's president, to account for the 2022 invasion and subsequent crimes committed by Russian forces. The center was established to hold the leaders of Russia and its allies in Belarus, North Korea, and Iran accountable for a category of crimes listed as aggression under international law, for undertaking and supporting the attack. The European Union Agency for Criminal Justice Cooperation's president, Michael Schmidt, said, "The US authorities have informed me that they will conclude their involvement in the ICPA." He said the center's work would continue without US participation, with the group fully committed to holding accountable those responsible for core international crimes. And if that wasn't bad enough, the Trump regime has terminated a US-funded initiative that documents alleged Russian war crimes, including a sensitive database detailing the mass deportation of Ukrainian children to Russia. The move has barred the transmission of evidence to prosecutors pursuing multiple criminal cases, including the International Criminal Court's landmark indictment of Vladimir Putin for what it has called the unlawful transfer of children from occupied areas of Ukraine. So, as Trump treads water, pretending to broker a deal between Putin and Zelenskyy, it's clear where his allegiance lies. The clues to his puppet master go back to the Steele dossier and the Mueller report, documents that Trump has gone out of his way to discredit. Trump has previously called Zelenskyy a dictator without election, falsely accusing him of provoking the invasion, and falsely claimed that Putin wanted to end the war. The Justice Department also just said it was reducing the work of its War Crimes Accountability Team, set up by Merrick Garland in 2022 to hold Russia accountable for atrocities committed following its invasion of Ukraine. Is it any wonder that Donald Trump is rumored to be an asset of the Kremlin?
I can't imagine that if he was a Russian asset, he could do anything more favorable than these 5 points. What else could a Russian asset actually possibly do that Trump hasn't yet done?
I'm Anthony Davis. You can find me on the 5 Minute News YouTube channel and podcast, on Wednesdays co-hosting Uncovered, and on Sunday on The Weekend Show with Midas Touch.